everybody to our Curriculum Konversation February, what is today, 18th?
February 21st.
February 21st, and we are having a special edition today. Today, it is Black Fathers Curriculum and Conversation edition. I'm going to introduce our panelists. We have a guest panelist that's going to kind of run our conversation today. Additionally, we have phenomenal men and fathers on the team and in the panel today to answer questions and hear from you live. So, let's start with our first. Our first panelist is Byron G. Williams. Byron is a devoted father of three: Brianna, 24, Blake, 12, and Braylon, 11. Byron currently works as a Human Resources and Safety Coordinator for SBWIB Incorporated. A product of Los Angeles and the LAUSD system, Byron is very active in his community and children's education, volunteering every opportunity at his son's school and sports team. In his spare time, he volunteers at local churches, assisting in the audio and media with streaming and social media presence. Byron has been a happily married man to the former Monica Greenwood for over 18 years, and they currently reside in Compton, California. Byron Williams, a dad since 2001. Right next to Byron, we have Dr. Toutoule Ntoya. Dr. Toutoule Ntoya is an educator, speaker, and entrepreneur dedicated to student success and educational equality. He works with teachers through professional development and coaching to implement effective curricula while also engaging directly with students using learning and motivational strategies to drive achievement. He holds a doctorate in urban education leadership from the University of Southern California. As a board member of our Voice Alliance, Dr. Ntoya is passionate about amplifying the voices of educators of color, including those from the broader African Diaspora. He has spoken at venues nationwide on various occasions, educated related topics, and co-hosts the Our Voice Alliance speaker series, where voices from marginalized communities are amplified and shared in a powerful and engaging way. Beyond education, Dr. Ntoya is an entrepreneur focused on building generational wealth for his family and empowering others in the community to achieve financial success. He is a proud father of two boys. He is also a husband, son, brother, friend, and colleague to many. Dr. Toutoule Ntoya, dad since 2015. And finally, Joffrey Jaw Starks, menswear designer with a cause for appropriateness, mediating between society's dress codes and individual sartorial freedom, and solution to men's overdress, underdress conundrum rooted in the cognitive dissonance between conformity and individuality, with an overall purpose to refine a culture of cool with style and substance, connecting fashion and good. Joff is also founder and fashion director at Hooks and Merch Boutique Promotion House, where he leans on his advertising and PR background as he crafts messaging, product, and experience hooks for brands' iconicity. Joff is a creative thought leader and social philanthropist with a collaborative spirit. Dad since 2003.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, fathers. Today, I just want you all to have an authentic conversation. Feel free, you don't always have to follow the questions on there, Joff, but you all engage in conversation, and later on we'll open it up to questions throughout the audience here.
Sounds good. How's everyone out there in the digital world, social media world, I should say? Happy to be sitting here with two fellow Black dads, and I'm sure we've shared some of the same experiences as we help our kids navigate life and then the educational system specifically, since this is this is put on by School Turf and Equation to Success. So I want to start off by just kind of defining what it means to be a Black dad. To let you go first.
Black dad. So just like all of us, we didn't know what it was like to be a dad. And I was fortunate enough to have my father in my life the whole time. And one of the things that really stuck out to me was he was always there.
Yeah.
You know, my African father, not the most, you know, touchy-feely guy, but he was always there no matter what. So that's one of the things I always want to be with my kids, always be present for them emotionally, always be present for their events, and always, you know, be a comfort zone for them. So as long as I can do those two things, you know, I think I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah, I think so. I agree. What do you think, Byron?
Like Dr. T, grew up with both parents in the household. My father worked hard. Both my parents didn't graduate high school, so first line was to make sure all three of us boys graduated high school. You know, so education was key. Now there was times where we would come home and homework we couldn't get any assistance from our parents.
Sure.
11th grade was where they stopped. However, you know, making sure that we had the resources and so forth, leaning on relatives and so forth, teachers and so forth to get schoolwork done. My father worked hard, but one lesson that I did learn from him, he did love us and he always held us accountable. As a black man, make sure that you're always accountable for your decisions, your actions. And so holding down 3 children, it's always been the case of making sure, one, they understand that what myself and my wife do is out of love. The decisions may not be easy, and they're not going to always understand those things, but the accountability of why we make those decisions, hopefully in the future they will see
that's
why we make those decisions for them.
That's what's up. They definitely will. And I'm assuming you guys are open with them and saying, you know, you may not understand now, because our parents told us the same thing. You may not understand why we're telling you this now, but you will. Just wait till you get out on your own. You know, so I'm definitely experiencing that myself. But something that I heard both you guys mention is that both parents were in the household. And I think that there's a stigma or this myth that in the Black community, you know, it's almost like a rarity to hear that both parents are in the household. How do you think both parents being in the household affected your education and how you navigated life?
Well, you know, both my parents were big on education, and they always preached that, you know, school's always first. How your grades doing? How you know, don't bring any bad grades home. So no matter what, and you know, I was an athlete growing up too. I knew that I always had to have good grades, and I knew that I couldn't get in trouble at school. No one could call the house. Like I tell my son now, I said, if your teachers ever call me, it's gonna be problems. Right? You don't want when your teachers call me, you fix it at school. So that was always my kind of North Star. And even now, my oldest is 9. And I was just having a conversation with him just a couple of days ago on what it meant to be a scholar first. You know, you're playing soccer, you're doing this, you're doing that. He's involved in school, he's involved in band, but you have to make sure you take care of stuff in the classroom. So that's what I've been focusing on. My wife was a better student in high school than I was, so she's big on just, they gotta do their homework, they gotta do this. And I'm like, maybe not so much. But both, you know, having both ends of that, I think is gonna be this is gonna be really good for them to see and ingrain that into them as they
that
grow
yin
up.
and yang is always always a good thing. Because the times where we can be a little overbearing or the opposite, you know, one of us can pull the other back to say, hey, you know, I think just let them chill for a minute, you know. So Byron, what do you think about that? Two parents in the household, how did that affect your education and how you navigate life?
Well, for me and my baby brother, my mother worked at the elementary school.
So
You
couldn't get in
couldn't
trouble.
get away.
My parents were old school, so there was always a belt around. If not the belt that we had on our waist,
take it off and hand it to
one.
me.
Switch branch, you know. So they're not at the food, and my parents were always at this point where, why do we send you to school and you not want to learn? And growing up, I never understood it until as I have children, I'm going, oh man, put light to it. All these conversations that I remember parents saying. And so having both in the household, again, because they did not graduate high school, that was prevalent. How's your grades? We had progress report check-in, sit on the couch. How's school?
Yeah.
And if you lied, that wasn't even right because they've already communicated with the teachers of what's going on,
They
how
already
things
know.
are going. So it's the again, my father's holding us on business or accountability.
Right.
So I already knew I'm going to school. I'm not going to waste my time because one, I did not believe in summer school.
Yeah.
That was my time to
Same
find
here.
a job.
Exactly.
So
right.
I'm getting my grades.
Yeah.
Whereas, my brothers, they did what they were supposed to do, but just wasn't. I guess I'm the cream filling.
Yeah.
And the siblings, so maybe I was a goody two shoes.
Yeah.
So, but with both the parents in the household, they always held us accountable. My mother acted as the teacher principal.
Okay.
So we didn't want to see the superintendent.
Right.
My father.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how in our household things
Yes.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. The father was the enforcer.
Mom laid the hammer down, but we didn't want to see that. So we knew take care of business, and by the time Dad got home, paid.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah. So did the kids at school? I'm sure because if your mom was a teacher, you said right.
Well, she was a coordinator.
A coordinator, but she was at the school. So all your friends and all the other kids knew who your mom was. So you really couldn't do anything because the teachers or somebody would end up telling her, oh, Byron did this or Byron did that.
And she did random pop-ups.
Yeah.
Not the pop-up.
Yeah.
And, you look, Mom.
Be like, Mom, don't.
You had no shy. But I do the same thing with my boys. If I'm in the neighborhood, stopping by the school, I just pop in. I may sit in the class, in the back of the class. Teacher asks if I want. No, I just came to observe to see how my sons are doing. Because of course, when we pick them up, hey, how was school?
Right.
Oh, it was good.
Yeah.
And then later on, we get a text from the teacher, or they mentioned none of this.
Right.
So I just, I'm old school. Myself, my wife are old school. But just setting that nurturing environment, love, but also trying to be resourceful in every aspect for me.
That's what's up. It sounds like we all came from that same era of parenting. And, I know my wife and I, we try and implement a lot of the principles, and ways of parenting, of our parents. Mm-hmm. So how much of it have you been able, Dr. Toutoule, to implement into your parenting style?
What's interesting? I became a father kind of older, in my 30s. Yeah. I think if I had been a father in my 20s, I would have done a lot more of what my dad did and my mom. But I think I was older and I had a chance to think about what I wanted my kids to do, what I wanted differently for me. And, we were brought up to be very compliant. The kids are supposed to be not seen or heard. And go sit over there, company's over, right? And there were instances that I remember my friends were really, they would advocate for themselves. And I didn't have that because when teacher speaks, you listen, right? There's no way to speak back or anything. And, and I wish there were situations when I could have pushed back to teachers a little bit more, and I just didn't. So that's one thing that we encourage our kids to talk. When we're talking, we let them talk so they know that they have a voice. And I used to always admire my friends because they can actually talk back to like coaches and stuff. Like, yo, how you talk? You sit next to the coach? Kicks you off the team. So that's one thing that I really try to foster in my kids, to have a voice, be respectful of adults, be respectful to each other, but also know that you can speak for yourself. You can speak up for yourself. And if you think a situation isn't going the way you think it should be, that it's okay to talk, know who to talk to, and know what to say. So you're not just blurting out and being, a loose cannon, but you're actually being thoughtful. You're thinking about it, and you're able to kind of say what's inside of you. And then we can talk about it later and reflect on it together. And allow him to really get a sense for what's going on, what he could have done better, what he did right, and just give him that encouraging push.
I think it's how you say it. You said the word respectful. That as long as that's the foundation, and we recognize, my mom and dad used to tell me, do you know who you're talking to?
Right.
So, you know, and I say the same
Right.
thing to my kids, like, do you know who you're talking to? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not your friend, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
the way you communicate, you can say what's on your mind, but it's how you say it.
Yes.
You know, and I think that also, you know, because all of this, it starts in the home. And so, you know, when we send our kids off to, you know, to school, or, you know, even in high school, they reach that age where they're out on their own, hanging with friends, you know, they're up against the external world. And let's say they get stopped or pulled over, especially if we're talking about young Black men.
Oh yeah.
Not having that lesson from home of how to be respectful, knowing what to say in certain situations is going to be a huge positive for them, you know, because they know how to control their emotions. And I think that's huge nowadays with social media. You know, kids, they see a gambit of so much. You know, how when we would see our friends talk back to their parents, and we were like, wait, what are you doing? But now it's commonplace because they're seeing, they're seeing the lifestyles of so many different people, and they question, well, why my parents don't allow me to do that? You know, so that kind of segues into the next question is, how do you navigate having, you know, sounds like you guys have structure within the home. How do you navigate keeping the kids, you know, structured and having discipline when you have the distraction of social media?
Well, one, our children don't get their electronics until the weekend.
Okay, that's cool.
So one, that just helps us.
Thank you.
How let me interrupt, Byron, because I like that. How early did you start with that? Because it's so hard to do it once they get a certain age.
My wife, I can't take credit for that.
Okay.
My wife, I know you're watching, had set that up. And I guess one, I'm talking to other parents, doing parent conference and so forth, and the grades and so forth. And, you know, it's one, kids are easily distracted.
Yeah.
So you want to spend hours on hours during the weekend playing video games.
Right.
Okay, we need to put that same energy into the schoolwork.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so that was one of our advices. One behavior is, okay, did you do your work? How's your grades? How was your behavior in class? Okay. Yeah. Reward time.
Right.
Weekend comes so that they get home on Friday.
Yeah.
Have iPad, so forth, the VR or the PlayStation or whatever they have access to that and play. Now, we have to go behind just to find out the things that they're watching. YouTube is fully accessible to things. Now, they don't have Instagram accounts on TikTok because of some of the content that they were watching or coming across that we saw. But, you know, we just implemented those things and it seemed to work because one, education first, study time, and just time management.
Right.
Is what we've been trying to teach our children from the gate. I believe me and my wife lost our jobs when our middle son was born in 2012. And my first unemployment check, I bought him an iPad.
Okay.
Just looking at, okay, once he goes to school, I'm sure technology is going to be so. And it worked out because we had Baby Can Read and all the little apps, ABC, Mouse, and so forth.
Okay.
And Blake was reading in preschool to his class.
Wow, that's what's up.
You know, so we just, you know, being resourceful. But one, not just tennis shoes and so forth, but making sure that they have the capability to advance and be ready. And was me and my wife's approach.
Real talk.
Just going into our children, period. So
I think I'm lucky because my kids are still young, so I can. You're not old enough yet to have a phone, and that deads that conversation. But we did have them on not iPads, the little Amazon tablets.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So they had the kid games on there, and then my oldest was able to use YouTube, but we monitored it. Then he started watching stuff, and we didn't like what he was watching, so we got him off of YouTube. So he still does YouTube from here, you know, from time to time, but everything now is instructional. And he's been my son got really good with math because of those games.
Wow, okay.
So we got him playing games. I went to a tech conference and someone gifted me what was the name of that game? Osmo. Gifted me an Osmo.
Okay.
And so I gave him the Osmo and he was playing with that and so that got him going. And We got him on Scratch and those kind of things.
Yeah.
So we've been, I do a lot of technology coaching and that with schools. So I see how important leveraging technology can be. So we've been trying to get both of them using technology in a very effective way, using the games on their tech. There's this fish game that my son played. It's a guppy, and the guppy eats numbers. So you have to put the bubbles together, 2 and 2, and you put together to make 4, and the guppy eats it. So he got really good with math that way. And my youngest now, I've got him doing those games too.
Yeah.
So, I think being cautious about technology use, but gosh, it's when they get in high school and college, who knows?
Well, they have to, it's a must that they become comfortable with it now. I mean, now you have the introduction of AI.
Oh man.
God knows where that's going to be by the time they reach, high school or college, So it's good that you guys are implementing that in a responsible way, and that they're actually been able to benefit from it.
And I think with AI, not to belabor the point,
Yeah.
but I think with AI and our kids, Black kids, AI is going to take off, and it has a mind of its own, and it's just going to do what it does. But my big fear is that our kids are going to fall behind because our kids aren't going to be playing and learning and figuring it out.
Yeah.
It's going to be kids in other communities
who
are going to be versed in it, and our kids are going to grow up and they're going to get to college and not know anything about it. And I just don't want my kids to be at a disadvantage. I don't want any of our kids to be at a disadvantage. So, I just keep thinking about what can we do to kind of counteract the technology use.
Thank you, Byron.
As well as, people are still kind of fearful of what AI is, and how do we kind of play in that sandbox so everyone can feel comfortable with getting our kids into that space so they can take advantage of this new space.
For sure. So, what would you guys like to see in terms of, school support, or are there summer programs that could help support, you guys in introducing them to AI and all these different, XR and VR and all these acronyms that, it's kind of hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
But the younger that they start learning about it, the more comfortable they'll be.
Absolutely.
So what would you like to see in, from the schools or your community in terms of helping facilitate their experience in that area?
If there were weekend classes, especially VR, my son, the baby son, lives practically on his VR on the weekend.
Wow.
It's a game of gorilla tag.
Yeah.
And it's just his arms.
He getting the workout in.
He's getting his workout. He comes downstairs and he's drenched and his arms and toes. I'm going, I need to be a VR.
Yeah, right?
He just sits there. And we don't see him until the battery goes dead or it's time to take a snack or that's the only time. But we can hear him talking with his friends and they're having a ball and I'm going, man, we didn't have all this when we were Atari.
We were outside.
I was outside playing. So I'm going, this guy's arms are so good. I'm telling my wife, like, we need to invest in one of this as a workout. But I think Saturday classes, summer camps, and so forth. One to start bringing in or introducing, especially into the inner city schools, because a lot of times they don't have computers or a computer lab, so to speak.
Right.
Some children may have access to some technology of a laptop or an iPad or device at home, but if it's multiple kids, how do you share that? So just some introductions, if it's just basic, and see if the kids buy into it, which a lot of them are playing games that's on PlayStation, which is, I can't think of the name right now. My son's probably
Fortnite.
Okay. I was gonna date myself and say Call of Duty, but it's Fortnite now. Oh, it's still okay. All right.
But things like that where they're playing them.
Yeah.
Why can't they design them?
What?
That's right. Exactly.
So
Real,
and my baby son is very
artistic and drawing and sketching and so forth.
Yeah.
If he has the opportunity, he can set forth and maybe design a game
or start the blueprint or
Right.
the beginning stages.
Right.
You know, so if we can get access to those type of things into the community, where we don't have to travel so far out, you know, give us a chance and a shot.
Yeah.
Our kids are brilliant.
Yeah. I like that because, you know, it takes them off, you know, that beaten path of just sports.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I think you got to have a healthy balance. You know, if they're interested in sports, cool, but we have to introduce them to other, you know, cultural activities, you know, and things that are going to stimulate their minds for the future,
For sure.
and not just dependent on physicality.
Yeah.
You know.
For sure.
That's a
For
small
sure.
window.
Isn't it? Seriously.
Get into the NBA, baseball,
Yeah.
NFL, and so forth. So
Yeah.
For sure.
I remember
For sure.
Stephen A. Smith saying, you know, you may not be able to be Kobe. Everybody may not be able to be Kobe, but you can be me.
yes.
And what he was saying is, I have a job that is just this. It's not based on your God-given physicality or physical nature, you know, because you may not grow to be 6'5", 6'6", you know. So what else? What else are you going to aspire to be? You know, and it kind of falls back on us. What are we going to introduce our kids to pique their interest? And I love the fact that you know that your son is a great artist, because now you can approach the introduction of AR and VR from a different perspective versus him feeling like this is another class. It's like, no, like, oh my God, you're such a great artist. Have you ever thought about this? So that he gets excited about it.
During COVID, to break the monotony of everyone just being shelter in place, my wife and I would just take our kids on the drive.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we'd be in Pasadena, Beverly Hills, and stuff.
Okay.
And every once in a while, we'd get out and go to Magnolia's Bakery. And we were asked a gentleman, because both my sons are into fancy exotic cars.
Okay.
And so if the person was approachable, we'd walk up to him and I would go, hey, my son has a few questions if you have time. Don't mean no harm about you.
Yeah.
If you have time.
That's what's
and
up.
I'll go, okay, son, what's your question? And you go, what do you do for a living? And some, you know, were college bound and graduates, some were rich kids, you know, so their parents had money and so forth. But I just want to expose my children to not just sports can give you this. Education.
Yeah.
If you do it correctly,
Right.
you can run this world.
That's
You
right.
can have garages like Jay Leno of
Yeah.
exotic cars. You don't have to just dribble a ball, catch a ball. You know, you can read a book.
Yeah.
You can talk. If you have to get the gab, talk show or anything, you know. So, but just coming across that, they were able to see different avenues of how people were making money.
Yeah.
And some they weren't yet ready because they hadn't figured it out yet.
Sure.
I've been in school, I have 3 degrees, but I'm going back.
Yeah.
And my son's like, but how did you get this car?
Right.
You know,
Right.
well, my parents bought it, you know. So, you know, getting back to just, you know, but trying to open their mind to go, okay, there's beyond just sports, rapping, or entertainment.
Yeah.
There's other ways that you can make money or lots of money.
Yeah.
Or you may not make that much money, but as long as you're happy within yourself because you're doing something that you're passionate about, you know. So, but that was just, you know, something that I thought about just in this conversation. Just being, again, resourceful. Trying to expose them to different things and different levels.
I love that.
You know.
Yeah, and you know, society's going to tell us what our boys should be doing, what our girls should be doing.
Yeah.
You're either going to physicality, you're going to play basketball,
play football, baseball. That's what they push us towards. Be a musician, but when it comes time to coding or developing your own VR world, whatever the case may be, you know, Lil John, he can't handle that.
So they say.
And if it's not us who are going to push it, then no one else will. And so I've had a totally different mentality every time I go into a school now. When I see a young boy or a young girl, I'm like, okay, well, how do we
get this kid to be something more than he's not? How do we look at, you did
the problem right? Man, that math you're killing it, right? Just that bit of confidence.
Positive reinforcement.
Because like if he can dunk a basketball, everyone's going to be looking for him. And hey, you should go on the basketball team. You're tall. You're whatever. but no one's going to say, whoa, you actually were the only person to solve this math problem in this way.
Yeah.
You should think about X. You should think about Y. You should think about, you know, whatever. And we have this thing in my son's district. It's called Math Academy.
Okay.
And of course, in the Math Academy, you know, not a lot of us in the Math Academy. The boys, none of his friends who are, you know, black are in Math Academy.
Yeah.
And
Sad.
I happen to know about Math Academy, and I happen to know that not a lot of black boys are in it. So we have to advocate for him to be in this program. So we talked to his teacher. Oh, yeah, next year he's going to be in the 4th grade. So when we started the school year, we told the teacher, and she advocated for him as well. And now he's in Math Academy. Yeah. So, you know, I'm like, okay, well, I got my kid in, but that's because I had, I had the capital to talk to the people I knew. But what about some other kids in his class who may not have that same capital? So what can we do as folks in the community to uplift those students and get more faces like that in these programs? And that's what I've been kind of racking my brain. And how can we do more in our communities, not just for my own kid, but also for his friends who look like him who may not have the opportunity.
Right, because what we don't want is the adverse effect of now he's getting shamed for being having, you know, I don't want to say privilege, but having access to something that they don't even know that they need. You know what I mean? To go home to say to their parents, you know, what's your son's name again?
Luther.
Luther is, you know, my friend Luther is doing VR and XR. I want to be involved. But because they don't even know what it is, they want to shame him and make him feel bad about having that access. So if we can get the whole community involved and show that it's cool, then, and, you know, and they can go together, pair up. Hey, come join me, you know? So it's just that positive reinforcement.
Yeah, when I was a science teacher, and I taught right here in LA.
Okay.
And I found out one of my students, he went on to be an engineer. And I had no idea he was inclined to be an engineer. And I'm like, wow, how did I miss that? How did I not know that he had some type of interest? And how could I spark that? And I often think a lot about other kids who were in the school with me who I could have sparked more interest. So I'm just thinking now, like, what does that look like? What do we do?
That's the question. Yeah, that's the question. How do we spark that, or how do we not miss those opportunities to positively reinforce the gifts and the skills that some of these kids just naturally have? Yeah. They don't even realize that this is something that they can move forward with, but because we've, you know, been through life or experiencing life, they're depending on us, you know, to say, hey, I didn't know you were such a great artist, and now I'm in these art classes, you know, or, you know, engineering classes, or I'm talking to you a little bit different when you stay after school. I'm asking you questions to pique your interest, to let you know, like, I see you and I see where you can go with this, you know? So sometimes it just takes them knowing that somebody is interested beyond just the surface.
I think better career days were not just the police officer,
right?
But, you know, someone that looks like us. But that's an entrepreneur. That's an artist. That's a graphic designer. Somewhere,
and not a starving artist or a graphic.
You know, that can come in and besides the 30-minute presentation, but can come in and give some time to give a lesson or two. That way, that kid that may have that it factor, that's chewing, that wants it, and once they get more invited into a situation of learning and go, oh man, I found my dad. I know what I want to become. And we don't get those in schools because of budget cuts, funding, so forth, and villages, you know. Sometimes we tend to just keep our village to ourselves and not share.
I'm going to say this, and I hope folks who are watching who work in school districts or whatever don't get mad at me. And
Speak your mind. Speak your mind, brother. This is an open forum.
But I honestly know now that schools have no idea how to do that. Like there's, with everything that has to happen in the school, you know, open doors, bell schedules, teachers, make sure they're credentialed. How do you engage Black boys?
Yeah.
How do you engage Black girls? And I honestly think that there's a deficit there on the side of the education system. So how does the community now come in and take care of our own? You know, how does the community band around each other and say, here's what our collective kids need.
Right.
Here's what we're gonna do, and uplift it to the school and make sure, okay, here is the blueprint. We just created the blueprint for you. And all you have to do now is just follow it.
Yeah.
Right? Which is, it's hard to do, but if we don't do it, the cavalry isn't gonna come for us. Right? So, you know, I'm a part of the AAPC at our district.
Okay. What is the ADPC?
Oh, African American Parent Council, sorry. African American Parent Council. We work with Equation for Success. They've been such a great partner, and we couldn't have done what we've done so far without them. But it's really all of us. There's a community of us, and if they have a chance to watch this, it's been amazing the things we've been able to create in such a short amount of time, and how we've been able to partner with the district and really push the district to do things that we need for our own kids. And you know, every parent I talk to, I'm like, get involved. If you don't get involved,
Shout out to Equation to Success and
For sure.
Kamai Wilson and his team.
For sure.
Kamai's doing
Compton.
For sure.
So I was just thinking as you guys were talking, just an idea. You know, I call myself a creative thought leader, and I'm really big on creating these experiences that can be outside the traditional way of thinking. And so as you were talking about community, I'm thinking, why couldn't we have a homeowners association extension to where there are labs in our communities? You know what I mean? Instead of just waiting on the school to do it. If the school is offering it, that's a plus. But if within our neighborhoods we have labs set up, so now you can go after school, you can go on the weekend, and now in the summertime it's not just about finding a place, you know, to go play or have fun and play games, but you also have this lab here that you can go to and feel comfortable because it's within your community. So you don't have to worry about safety and things like that. I think that'd be awesome. Would be super cool.
And parents are looking for stuff like that. Right? We're looking for that. And if you can make it centered, you know, and our academy, again, big shout out to Equations for Success, you know, Pan-African academy that we're developing to really center a voice that's not centered. A lot of Black parents are looking for that. And if you can, you know, offer that holistically as grassroots, man, how much more powerful. You take it to the district and say, look what we can do. Why don't we do this at our schools? Now that becomes something.
That's so true. So true. So, you know, back to, I mean, there was a question on here that really piqued my interest. And it said, what role do you think Black fathers should play in shaping educational spaces? And I think we kind of touched around this question. One of the things that I thought about, and it's so simple, and Dr. Toutoule, you're already immersed in the educational system. But for myself and Byron, I would say is, you know, you've already said it. You go sit in your kid's classroom.
That's awesome.
I think it's just being more present, more active, making sure that we prioritize parent-teacher conferences. We don't just prioritize the athletics, but we prioritize, you know, being a part of different organizations. I know when I was in junior high school, that was really big for us to be, you know, a member of the Future Business Leaders of America, Honor Society. And so now, you know, I look back and I'm like, wow, I wish I would have been on more of those committees because it would have taught me time management. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, one of the other things that I try to, you know, I told my kids is that, I want A's and B's, but school is about the ability to learn. So I want you to go in and work hard to try and learn. And that A and that B will be a byproduct of how hard or how bad you want to learn.
Love that.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you take their mind off of the grade versus just, you know what, I'm just going to work hard. I'm going to give it my all.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to win, you know? So how do you guys inspire your kids to want to make good grades without them feeling like you're being overbearing, or maybe they just are not interested in school? They haven't found that thing that makes them happy about going to class every day. What can you say to them?
Me and my wife do mental check-ins ever since COVID, you know, the climate and stress and so forth, and even children, you know, Dr. T mentioned about advocating, you know, and when we were growing up, a lot of times we were in the room, but not in the room, so to speak. And so with our children, I try to make sure myself and my wife just check in. Yeah. How's your mental? Yeah. What's going on? Yeah. Is it too stressed? What's going on with the grades? I know you can do better, but let us know what it is that we can help guide, navigate, or help you manage your time. You know, my baby son hit us. He cried. It hit me to the core, and I couldn't sleep that night because I'm going, my poor son is overwhelmed.
Oh, wow.
I think a lot of kids, a lot of our kids are experiencing that. And, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know, I'll speak for myself. I came from a time where you being lazy or you're not trying hard enough. I ain't whipped you enough. You know, so now it's like, how do I find that happy medium of giving them what we got that made us who we are? Because we didn't go lacking. You know, we're definitely sitting here as productive members of our society. You know, so how do we merge the two, you know, and where does it cut off? Like, you know, I like what you said earlier, is that you, by waiting to have your kids at a later age, you experience more things. You had your own perspective of life and not just leaning on what your parents taught you.
For sure.
But they taught us some great things. So how do we merge the two? You know?
Yeah, that's something that I've been kind of thinking about now as my kids get older. And my oldest, he loves school. He's very compliant. He goes to school. He's been student of the month every year. He's been in school.
Good for him.
Great for him. My second hates school. He doesn't like school. He cries in the morning. He hasn't been student of the month yet, and he's really an out of the box thinker. And he doesn't fit the mold of school. So it's really important that, and you said something that kind of sparked a thinking in me, like, what's the message that we give to our kids? What message, when they walk out of the door, can we give them? And I know sometimes, you know, you gotta get kids out of the house and you're late for school. And so I used to yelling at them, whatever. And then I read this post and they said, you know, you shouldn't yell at your kids when they leave. It doesn't leave a good. Yeah. So now I've been trying to, like, just really be mindful, and I've been trying to give them some encouraging words, even though they're driving me crazy.
Yeah, you gotta bite your tongue. It's like you want to say it a certain way.
You don't want to be like my dad, right? Go to school. You're not, right? But like, you know, I still want to be mindful and give them those things that are going to have them think. And my little son, he came to me the other day. He was like, "Dad, I was trying to be positive at school today, but I just couldn't." Yeah. I was like, "Oh man, he actually listened to me." Like 7:30 in the morning, and he's listening to me about being positive. So he took that in. I was like, okay, well, we're on to the right track here. So, you know, how do you not always have the 100-mile-an-hour fastball at them, but, you know, slow it up a little bit? Because, you know, my wife feels good for that. She'll actually talk to them. And she'll, like, reason with them and rationalize. And why did you say that? And I'm like, what? What? So, you know, trying to, sometimes when I think I'm being too, like, just crazy, I got to sit back and I got to, you know, zen my inner wife. Right. And hit them with the slow ball. Yeah. And it actually works because they listen to me and they listen. I'm always surprised at how much they listen to the words that I say. Right. So I know our words have a lot of gravitas. Man, so, you know, how do I, like, just be thoughtful father and show them I care about them? And, you know, it's been an interesting journey, you know, as they grow, how to, you know, push that forward for them.
Yeah.
I pray before we leave the house. We pray.
Yeah.
We go over our daily affirmation.
Yes.
I'm a leader, not a follower. I'm the head.
I love that.
Not the tail. I'm the victor, not the victim. I walk by faith and not by sight. It's before they even walk out, get out the car, and then we just go over a few things. Hey, be great. Be awesome. Be legendary. Be inspirational. And
I'm gonna take a note.
we
Taking a note.
That's every day.
That's
every day. And I
love
just
that.
try to make sure when they're in the classroom, because I have no idea that they're our future leaders. And both of them are leaders in their classroom. So I try to make sure that they're inspired, but they're challenged at the same time, and make sure that they understand that they're in school to learn. They don't know it all. I, as their father, don't know it all. So sometimes I'm looking for them for inspiration as well as if they were looking for me for inspiration. So I try to leave that with them. And before I drive off, I kiss them on the forehead. It's just one of the things that I do as a father. One, because I want them to understand the physical love. Because I knew my father loved me, but he was always working.
Tough love. Too.
And that was tough love. You know, he put me in the headlock, give me and slap me on the head. That was man. You know, but to my kids, because times have changed.
So that brings me to my last questions. I think we're drawing near the end. So a compounded question, real quick. I think we got about 3 minutes left. What's your love language as a Black father to your kids? And then what are the two principles that you could give your kids that would help them in education and just in life in general?
Love language to my kids, spending time. So whether it's video games, we play, they have their Nintendo Switch. So we spend time playing video games. They're starting to get into, they really like soccer. So we watch soccer together and play video games. And that time spent together. Sometimes, as parents, you feel like you're not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. But I said, if I can do these two things, just spend time with them, talk with them, we play video games together, and we watch soccer together, I feel good about myself doing those two things. And what was the second part of that?
It was two principles that can help them navigate education and life.
Two principles. To be nice to one another, because your relationship together is going to dictate how you treat other people. And then have respect for everyone, your classmates, teachers, everyone you come in contact. And if you do those two things and and I always tell my son, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care if you're the best soccer player ever. I don't care if you're not getting all A's, but try your best. If you told me you tried your best, that's all I got. That's all you got for me. That's all I can get.
Byron, what about you?
Let's see. Love language. Being present and physical touch. Hugs. Because we're taught, when we were younger, boys don't cry.
Speak, bro.
So
Yes.
if you have emotion, cut it out. Let's talk. Let's sit down. Yoo-hoo, a Sprite or whatever root beer. Let's sit down, talk.
Yoo-hoo.
I want to know what your emotions are. I don't want it bottled in. Those are the things that I try to make sure that I'm in every moment. And I know sometimes they may think that I may be over sheltering them, but I'm just trying to be there for them. So physical touch and being present. And then just 2 points that I can give to them. Love themselves. Look in the mirror. Mirror talk. When they do wrong, we always tell them, go look in the mirror. Reflect. Your
like that.
accountability. You're in trouble because of who? You.
There you go.
So if you're going to get upset with someone, look in the mirror.
That's right.
So love themselves. If you love yourself, you think positive about yourself to make all the right or close to the right decisions. Or you would think before you act. And the second point will be money management. Saving money.
What?
We're out spending money, looking good, or making other brands look good, but our accounts don't live up to how we look. So me and my wife are always trying to make sure that they understand what a dollar means, how much things cost, why we budget certain things and so forth, and why we may not do that, and we do this over on this end, and to have money saved, because again, I want them to be well off at my age.
That's right.
As my parents, when they said, hey, when you become our age, we want you to be. So I'm always looking at that next level. And hopefully, again, they may not understand it today, but
they will.
When they get my age, I understand everything that Dad and Mom was telling us.
Awesome conversation, guys. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for having us.
We need more of this.
Yes.
I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation today. We want to open it up. We want to open it up to you guys at home or wherever you guys are watching us. If you have any questions for Dr. Toutoule and Byron or myself, feel free to chime in.
So I'll start the question. First, I just want to thank you Black fathers. I'm not a Black father, but I'm the child of one. Okay. I'm the daughter. And I just want to say, you make a difference. It makes a difference to know that there is, for us women, and I'm just speaking from being a daughter, to know that there's a Black man that loves me and is down for me no matter what. It gives a certain courage to the children that you're raising. So I just want to say thank you as a daughter of one. And Toutoule, I know you know about you mentioned the Pan-African Immersive Storytelling Academy that is coming out in Pasadena in fall of 2025 for incoming sixth graders. All of those things that you want, I guess I am putting in a plug, but all of those,
I'm so jealous right now.
Everybody is welcome. Just apply to Pasadena Unified and come to that Pan-African. It is that opportunity for children, for all children, to have an experience with the AI and the RI and any I, right? I, whatever eyes there are.
EI, actually.
EI.
Emotional intelligence.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And through the lens of Pan-Africanism and having a voice. And space is limited, so apply now. I did have a question for anyone on the panel. If you could go back, earlier I read each of your biographies, and I appreciated these brothers. They went from a talk about a sneaker ball, which I've never heard of, but going to a sneaker ball to Black fathers shaping the educational experience of their children. And the fact that you ran the whole gamut of having these deep conversations, I really appreciate.
Thank you.
If you could go back and tell the you that was the year you established, or not established, but the year you became a father, right? The year you became a father, if you could go back and give that you any advice, just one piece, what would you tell yourself?
I'll take that one. I'll be the first to say, parenting is on-the-job training. We don't always make the right decisions, but I believe that for the parents who care about being parents, always have great intentions. The results might not reflect that. But if I could go back, I would say to spend more time just having fun with my kids versus being having teaching moments.
Yes.
So I was really big on that. And my kids would tell me, like, everything's got to be a teaching moment. And it's like, yeah, but it's the perfect opportunity for me to tell you this. But I would just spend time letting them make mistakes and do whatever and just laugh about it, so that when I get ready to have a teaching moment, is better received.
I think for me, it's be in the moment. My firstborn, he wouldn't sleep. And oh, I can't wait until you could like sleep. Then he didn't walk right away, and I can't wait till he starts walking. And then he didn't want to eat food right away. And I can't. Right, so he had all of these different milestones that didn't happen right away, and it was okay. I remember my friend Bianca Sanchez. We went to college together, and I was struggling on Facebook. I'm like, this kid isn't sleeping. She said, they eventually sleep. I said, no way. No way. And eventually he did. But I always think about her saying that to me because we were just struggling, just getting him to sleep. But I just wish I'd been in that moment more because it was just him being expressive. And it's easier to saying it now that the kid isn't screaming and yelling, but just be in the moment more and just be there where they're at and just absorb that.
Definitely. Yeah.
Let's see. 2001. I was 21 years old when my daughter was born. So, what would I say to myself? Patience.
Yeah.
Being a young parent, young father, not knowing a whole lot. I'm thankful for my family, nurturing and being around and supportive, but just the patient level, because me and my daughter's mother separated, and that caused a whole lot of tension. So just the patience, because I always wanted to make sure, one, my daughter knew that I loved her and I was present. It wasn't about a dollar sign. So just the process of that, of me having more patience with that. If I could go back into time and tell young Byron, 2001, have more patience.
Patience. Yeah. It's a virtue.
Yes.
Thank you all. We also have another question from one of our Instagram viewers. How do you handle the external influences that your children are exposed to that you don't agree with or don't align with the way you're raising them? Like
Great question.
Media or friends at school?
Great question.
It's a great question. I always think about going back to what you said earlier. Our parents taught us a lot. And we grew up in the 90s, right? 80s and the 90s. And I grew up, my parents are immigrants and we grew up by USC. And then we grew up over by where Roscoe's used to be. Heavy gang infestation and crack and heroin and all that. And we made it out of that, because of the virtues that they taught us. And I think as long as we can, this is my thinking, I don't know if it's naive, but as long as I can be in my son's lives,
that's it.
And as long as I can continue to give them those teachable moments, and as long as I can show them I care about them, I think we've given them enough to go out into the world. And I haven't talked much about religion at all, but get them involved in the Word, giving them, praying with them, and them understanding what it means to be, a man of faith, man of God, and having that lead them. And hopefully, as they get out there, I'd love to be there with my kid every time he goes through something, but I'm not gonna be. But hopefully that we can give them enough to go out there and make the best decisions.
I would say empathy. Understanding that it's a different time. Things are not like they were when we were growing up. So maybe being interested in what they're seeing on social media. And not so quick to be critical.
That's good.
And say, what are you watching? You should be watching it, but join in. And so that you have a more hands-on response to what's happening, and maybe you don't even say anything the first time, so that they will invite you in a second time, and maybe that second time is the teachable moment. But also to know what's influencing their emotions. So I would just say sometimes we gotta, we were taught, I'm your parent, not your friend. Sometimes we do have to pick those moments where we are just being the friend and we're meeting them where they are and getting on their level. so that they invite us in so that we can help them.
Love that.
Yeah.
It looks like that was our last question.
Good question.
Yeah, it was a great question.
Thank you so much for joining us. Any closing remarks?
To wrap us up, just thank you for joining Equation to Success, Curriculum Conversation for February of 2025. We look forward to seeing you at our next event.
Yeah.
Awesome.